Jinx has always been broken, but in Season 2, her darkness becomes something far more terrifying. And it begs the question, how far has Jinx fallen, and is there any way back for her? Let's look down that hole. It starts with Powder. She was defined by her love for her sister, Vi. She wasn't just attached, she idolized her. Vi was her anchor, her hero, the one person who made her believe she wasn't a burden. But that love came with a shadow, a fear of abandonment so strong it consumed her. And in those moments of fear, Powder wasn't just trying to prove herself to the world. She was trying to prove herself to Vi. Every invention, every desperate act was her way of saying, I can help, I can be strong, I can be just like you. But tragedy doesn't leave room for innocence, does it? When Powder becomes Jinx, those same traits, the love, the fear, the desperation, they don't disappear, they evolve. Love turns to obsession, fear turns to paranoia. And that need to prove herself, it warps into an unrelenting demand for loyalty. Powder wants Vi's approval. Jinx, she expects it at all costs. But here's the haunting truth. Powder hasn't vanished completely. She's still there, hidden beneath the chaos. You can see her in fleeting moments of vulnerability, in the way Jinx clings to memories of her sister, or in her fractured attempts to hold on to the past. Powder still exists within Jinx, but only as a ghost of innocence swallowed whole by the chaos that Jinx has become. And as that line between Powder and Jinx grows thinner, the question isn't just whether she can come back, it's whether there's anything left to save. Jinx's descent into darkness is no longer a subtle unraveling, it's a plunge. Season 2 doesn't just hint at her instability, it thrusts us into her fractured mind. The cracks we glimpsed before are now getting bigger. Her paranoia becomes an unrelenting shadow. Hallucinations stalk her every move. Images of betrayal, voices that accuse, and memories she can't escape. These aren't just fleeting moments, they're vivid, consuming, and as they grow, so does her volatility. In one scene, she hears Silco's voice, a ghostly echo of control and manipulation, but the voice twists into Vi's, and then Caitlyn's, each accusing her of failure, abandonment, betrayal. It's not just paranoia, it's Jinx battling her own fractured identity. Every stroke, every chaotic act, feels like a scream for control, but with each choice, it's clear she's not finding herself, she's losing herself. It's as if she's chasing something, a memory, a purpose. But the further she goes, the more it slips away. Powder might still exist somewhere deep within, but Jinx, she's fighting to bury what's left. And as Season 2 unfolds, her actions spiral further, each more destructive, each harder to justify. What's left is a woman on the edge, not just of Zaun's rooftops, but of herself. With every choice she makes, it becomes harder to tell, does she still fight for something, or is she just fighting to lose herself completely? And this is only the beginning, because as Jinx's fractured mind deepens, her actions cross lines she's never dared to approach before. What happens when chaos becomes destruction? Now, Season 2 takes Jinx to a place we've never seen before, a place where even chaos has consequences. And for Jinx, these consequences cut deeper than ever. She's not just crossing lines anymore, she's obliterating them. One of the most shocking moments this season is a decision so explosive it leaves her allies reeling. It's not just collateral damage this time, it's intentional, deliberate. This is where we see Jinx's paranoia consume not just her enemies, but those who still cared about her. There's almost a flicker of regret in her eyes. Almost, but it disappears as quickly as it comes, overtaken by the darkness she's chosen to embrace. And then there's the betrayal, driven by paranoia. She turns on someone who only wanted to help, not because they've wronged her, but because she's convinced they might. Watching this unfold, you don't just feel shocked at her actions, you feel the weight of what she's giving up, trust, connection, and the fragile hope for redemption. Finally, there's the ultimate rejection. Help is offered, a chance to stop the spiral, but Jinx doesn't take it. Not because she doesn't want to, but because accepting it would mean confronting how broken she's become. And for Jinx, facing that truth is more terrifying than anything she's done so far. These moments aren't just chaotic, they're destructive, shattering what little is left of her connection to the people who once mattered to her. Every action she takes feels like another step towards losing herself completely. And by the the end, you're left wondering, is there anything left of Powder, or has she been consumed entirely by the chaos? But as crazy as it sounds, this isn't the peak of her descent. The darkness grows deeper, the stakes higher, as her arc continues to spiral in ways no one could predict. Jinx is a character haunted, not just by her actions, but by the people who've defined her journey. These relationships aren't merely threads in her story, they're chains pulling her in different directions, tearing at what's left of her fragile psyche. First, there's Vi, the sister she loves more than anything, yet can't forgive. To Jinx, Vi isn't just a memory, she's a wound that never heals. Every encounter with Vi becomes a battle between her yearning for the unconditional love they once shared and her burning resentment for being abandoned. In Season 2, this conflict grows sharper. Vi's attempts to reach her, to save her, only deepen Jinx's instability, like trying to mend a broken vase that shatters further with each touch. And then there's Caitlyn, the rival Jinx can't seem to ignore. To Jinx, Caitlyn is everything she's not: stable, composed, a threat to her bond with Vi. But Caitlyn is more than a rival, she's a fixation. Jinx's paranoia warps Caitlyn into a shadowy figure in her mind, someone who's always lurking, always waiting to take what little Jinx has left. In Season 2, this paranoia festers, driving Jinx to acts of aggression fueled by imagined betrayals. And finally, Silco, the father figure she shouldn't have trusted but couldn't let go of. Even in death, Silco is a presence Jinx can't escape. His voice lingers in her mind, guiding her at times, haunting her at others. Is it his love she clings to, or his manipulation? Perhaps it's both. Either way, Silco remains her anchor and her weight, dragging her deeper into the void. These three figures, Vi, Caitlyn, and Silco, aren't just characters in Jinx's story, they're ghosts, each pulling her in a different direction, each amplifying her descent into madness. Vi reminds her of what she's lost, Caitlyn of what she fears, and Silco of what she's become. But instead of grounding her, these relationships fracture her further, pushing her toward a darkness that feels inevitable. And as the chains tighten, as these ghosts claw at her mind, we're left to wonder how much of Jinx is left to save, or has she already given herself fully to the chaos? Jinx was never a stranger to chaos, but in Season 2, the chaos becomes something else. Something darker, something far more self-destructive. It starts with her paranoia, which now feels less like a crack in her mind and more like a black hole, swallowing everything she is. She doesn't just see enemies in the shadows, she creates them, her fractured psyche twisting even the most harmless gestures into threats. And her paranoia? It's not confined to her mind, it spills out her actions, turning her into a walking storm of destruction. An explosive decision here, a betrayal there. Every choice leaves ripples of devastation. She's not just hurting herself anymore, she's becoming a catalyst for the chaos that reshapes the world around her. Look at the world she touches. Zaun's instability worsens, Piltover fractures further, and the lines between the two blur into an escalating spiral of conflict. Jinx isn't just breaking herself, she's breaking everything. Every moment feels heavier, like the air itself is suffocating, like the world is collapsing because of her. And as her paranoia evolves into pure self-destruction, it leaves us with one lingering question: is there anything left to save? But if you think this is the worst Jinx can do, think again. Jinx's darkness isn't just deep, it's uniquely hers. And to truly understand it, we need to compare her to the other complex characters in Arcane, because while every character battles their demons, Jinx's chaos stands in a league of its own. Take Victor, for instance. His journey is driven by hope, a desperate hope to outsmart his morality and make a lasting impact. His actions, though tragic, come from a place of belief and purpose and progress. Every step Victor takes, no matter how dark, feels like a calculated move towards something greater. And then there's Silco. His ambition is fueled by control. He thrives on power and manipulation, bending others to his will to build the world he envisions. Silco's darkness, it's cold, deliberate, and calculated, a dangerous chess game where he's always 10 moves ahead. But Jinx's darkness isn't about hope or control. It's chaos, born from pain. It's a storm that has no beginning or end. A whirlwind of grief, betrayal, and longing. Where Victor and Silco act with purpose, Jinx, she reacts. Every explosive decision she makes is raw, visceral, and utterly unpredictable. And that unpredictability is what makes her so terrifying and so human. Because under all the mayhem, we see glimpses of someone who's still chasing something. Someone who wants to be loved, to be understood, but can't stop pushing everything and everyone away. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? You can't hate her, not fully. Instead, you watch in awe, unable to look away as she spirals deeper and deeper. Jinx isn't a villain you despise. She's a tragedy you can't stop watching. A character so broken, so volatile, that every moment she's on the screen, you're holding on your breath. You're so scared of what she'll do next, but you also feel the weight of what's been done to her. And that's what sets Jinx apart. Her darkness isn't just chaos. It's chaos with a face you recognize, a face you can't forget. And as season 2 unfolds, this chaos doesn't just consume her, it threatens to unravel everything around her. But before we get there, let's look at these moments where Jinx crosses lines she hadn't before, cementing her descent into destruction. Jinx's actions don't just destroy herself, they're tearing the world apart, one fragile connection at a time. It's no longer just about Jinx, her chaos has become a driving force in the escalating tensions between Piltover and Zaun. Every choice she makes, every explosive outburst, every betrayal adds fuel to an already volatile divide. But the heartbreak doesn't stop there. For Vi, saving Jinx has always been more than a mission. It's been a desperate fight to hold on to the only remaining family. And yet, every time Vi tries, Jinx's choices only push them farther apart. Her paranoia, her need for destruction, it's like she's deliberately unraveling the bond they once shared. It raises an agonizing question. How far can love stretch before it breaks? For Vi, the struggle to save her sister might be the very thing that destroys her. Now, Jinx's chaos doesn't just touch her family, it reshapes the entire world around her. The growing instability in Zaun, the fractures in Piltover, and the tenuous threads holding them together, she's pulling it all apart, thread by thread. Jinx's story isn't confined to her own pain, it's a ripple effect that spreads to everyone and everything she touches. Her chaos isn't just her story, it's reshaping the entire world around her. And yet, with every piece that falls, the question lingers. Is there anything left of Jinx to save, or has that destruction become all she knows? What happens when someone is too broken to save? That's the question Jinx forces us to wrestle with. Season 2 leaves us standing on the edge, staring into the void that she's becoming. Can Vi's love pull her back from the brink? Or has Jinx reached a point where love isn't even enough? Imagine this, a full collapse, Jinx unraveling so completely that there's nothing left of powder, only chaos, consuming everything in its path. Her hallucinations take over, blurring reality until every decision she makes destroys someone or everyone. But then, there's another possibility. A twisted redemption. Not a return to powder, but an evolution into something entirely new. Something darker, smarter, and even more dangerous. What if Jinx becomes the architect of her own brand of order, forcing the world to bend to her chaos? Redemption, but at a terrible cost. Or perhaps the darkest fate of all. Jinx evolves into something beyond recognition. No longer a fractured mind, but a force of destruction so complete, it's terrifyingly calculated. What if she stops fighting herself and instead embraces the monster within? Is it already too late for Jinx, or has she always been too far gone? As we look ahead, one thing becomes certain. Jinx's future isn't just her own. The world she touches, Vi, Zaun, Piltover, they'll all bear the scars of whatever comes next. Jinx was always broken, yes, but there were still pieces, fragments that clung onto something real, something human. But now, even the pieces are gone. There's no line left to cross, no voice left to guide her. What remains is something darker and far more dangerous. And that's all we know for now. If you enjoyed this video, it would really help my channel if you dropped a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you like it so much to where you want to see more, stay tuned because I love making these for you guys. Anyway, I will see you very, very soon, and always remember, stay curious.